Hi guys, good evening and welcome back to another review of my Doctor Who Marathon. Last time we did the review on The Enemy of the World, a magnificent personal favourite story of mine. But now we're moving on to another fan favourite, and it has such a great reputation, and it was also released on the same day as The Enemy of the World. And this story has been known to many people as this is one of their favourite stories of all time, and you may probably know what I'm talking about. So guys, today's review is The Web of Fear. A magnificent, truly magnificent story. So much based on the siege content, so much in-depth mystery, the Yeti, menacing and as scary as ever, the characters, Professor Travers, all these goodness that I like about The Web of Fear, and it has such a brilliant reputation ever since that it was lost and hasn't been seen for 45 years. Only episode 1 remained, and that was it. That's all we had with The Web of Fear. But now we have it in its entirety, apart from episode 3, which is still missing. But this is a truly magnificent story still, and even though with the reconstruction, I still get by it. And you may know that I'm terrible when it comes to watching reconstruction, but in this, I can perfectly watch it all in one go. Anyway guys, let's not waste any time, and let's get started on with the review on The Web of Fear. Written by Marvin Hainsman and Henry Lincoln. I'm sorry if I pronounced those names wrong. Recovered and restored a classic Patrick Troughton adventure. In order to escape an attack in space, the TARDIS makes an unscheduled landing and ends up inside the London Underground. Here, the time travellers soon find themselves engulfed in a thrilling battle with the Great Intelligence and the Yeti, a deadly enemy set to invade Earth. But as the events take a turn for the worst, it becomes clear that the golden prize is not just Earth, but the Doctor's mind too. Oh, so I really love The Web of Fear because it's set in the London Underground, and the Yeti do return. This is not the first time that they appear. They appeared in the Abominable Snowman, which was their first story, but in this was their second time, and by this cover, you can see how menacing and threatening the Yeti just look. And with Professor Travers, Professor Travers was a really great character, and he was one of the main cast that appeared in the Abominable Snowman. So he was really a really great character in this. I really loved his obedience and rudeness towards Charlie, the reporter, who was trying like, "What the heck am I doing here?" He's all this shouting. I really loved his kind of scientific personality about himself, but he had this kind of contempt, and he felt that all of this, bringing the Yeti back from Tibet and having the intelligence being, bringing the Doctor back here for revenge and stuff, was morally his fault. And so he was literally felt sorry for himself that this was all of his fault, that he brought the Yeti back from Tibet. And this all completely came up from his, literally reaction of getting people killed, London invading, and so he really just saw the whole thing through, and he felt sorry for himself that he did all of this and getting people killed. But nevertheless, he was such a brilliant character, and I really loved his obedience and his brutal personality about himself, and he was just a magnificent character. But also, we have to see since we're now talking about the characters, we might as well talk about the characters a bit more. I really like the soldiers in this. Although in many of the stories, the Doctor doesn't like being all around with the soldiers, and they can become quite stupid sometimes. But in this, I don't think that the soldiers aren't that bad at all. Although the soldiers, they have a great fight scene in episode 4, which is probably one of the best scenes that I really like about this story, because you actually get to see the soldiers battling against the Yeti with all the guns and explosions. Just really, truly magnificent and well-directed fight scene. And then Colonel Lethbridge Stewart, which we see for the first time in Doctor Who. We did see Nicholas Courtney, who played Brenton Viren in the Daleks Master Plan, but this was really where the title of Colonel Lethbridge Stewart and Nicholas Courtney was introduced in Doctor Who, and he was completely, when he was introduced in episode 3, he completely took over the role of being captain or the leader of the whole situation, and so he felt more in control rather than the previous captain, Captain Knight. And so my honest opinions on Nicholas Courtney playing Colonel Lethbridge Stewart was he was so fantastic, and he could lead an army of soldiers into battle with so much confidence, and I felt that he had the charisma and characteristics to make a great leader rather than Captain Knight. And so he was more in control rather than Captain Knight, who was a bit, you know, nervous sometimes, but yet very strict and had a disbelief for one or two things, and so he didn't really felt as a captain. He just lacked a bit of energy to me. But Colonel Lethbridge Stewart was magnificent, just spot on acting from Nicholas Courtney. And if you know from this story, Nicholas Courtney does return in another story which we're going to be reviewing in the next video, so stay tuned for that. And so yeah, this isn't the last we see of Nicholas Courtney. He does return as the Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart in many other classic stories like The Invasion, Terror of the Auton, Spirit of Space, many from the Jon Pertwee stories as well. And so yeah, this is where his legendary career starts, as becoming the Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart. And so this is where his completely career starts, when meeting the Yeti and all these other mysterious alien conspiracies and beings as well. So this is where he's completely introduced to all of these concepts, and I think it's just a brilliant introduction, and he plays the part well. I mean, he was set to play Captain Knight initially, but instead the people who produced this gave him the role as being a colonel, and he felt more in control rather than Captain Knight. He had so much control over the whole situation, and having the soldiers round weren't a bad thing. I really felt that they were a good thing, because they actually aided the Doctor in, you know, trying to defeat the Great Intelligence, because they almost felt as a distraction towards the Great Intelligence. If the Great Intelligence could deal with the soldiers and basically, you know, spewing things up with all the explosions and all the fighting, all the Yetis, and then the Great Intelligence can become quite distracted from the Doctor, and so that gives the Doctor a great advantage, while the Doctor's working on the control box, the sphere, trying to control a Yeti, which he did it eventually in the end, really made himself feeling that he had an advantage and a great and powerful ally. And so that really made the whole story very true. I mean, if the soldiers weren't involved, then the Great Intelligence could literally get his hands on the Doctor's mind. But with the soldiers involved, that created a big distraction, which I thought that was a perfect concept. I really do like the soldiers, because they do create a lot of mystery, and it does make the whole story quite big, with loads of people in it trying to figure out who's working with for the intelligence. And there were quite a lot of moments in episode 3 where everybody were thinking around, like, somebody's in league with the Yeti, and who could it be? And so they were thinking of many likely suspects, like Chorley, although he was the news reporter, he basically had this kind of initiative to interfere with everybody's business, steal the information, and, you know, basically torture them to get the truth out of them. So yeah, he was really seen as a demanding character to get the truth out of people, but he was also seen as an annoying character who felt so nervous and felt very panicky, that he wanted to get out of here. He retreated from many of the Yetis that were following him, when he completely went missing in episodes 4 and 5, but then returned in episode 6, where he was found by who was it, Staff Arnold, yeah. So yeah, he was quite a cowardly character, but also a quite nervous character. But although I, you know, thought that his character was okay, but in my opinion, when it comes to likely suspects and who could be in league with the Great Intelligence, my concept was with Chorley that he could report and gather information on what the soldiers or the Doctor's actually doing, and so he can actually report that information to the Great Intelligence. And that could make that he could be in league with the Great Intelligence. So that put me to a brainstorm that he could be in league with him. So you never know. But I'm not going to give away the secret of who's working with the Great Intelligence. I'm not going to. I'm going to keep the identity of the Great Intelligence or who's working for him unknown, because I would just give the whole secret away. But I really, really love this story, because we have to mention the settings. The settings are just fantastic. I mean, there's only one setting, which is basically the London Underground, which it's a perfect, dark, eerie atmosphere that can be so used as a great location for the Yeti to be lurking around in all of the London Underground, because it just creates such an intense and atmospheric atmosphere, if you know what I mean. It just becomes such a dark, you know, intense atmosphere that the Yetis can be lurking around in the London Underground and completely search out for all the soldiers and become quite a threatening menace. If you get stuck in the tunnels and you see a Yeti up ahead, you really know that you're going to be off for the chop and it's going to be coming to you no matter what. And then there were loads of mystery plots which I quite liked about this story as well, like the model of the Yeti, which any time where if you had it in your hand and if it was activated, the Yeti would just walk towards you. It's almost like a homing device, which I completely said that Captain Knight had it in his pocket, Lethbridge Stewart had it in his pocket, and it completely, you know, felt that not only the Yeti were walking towards them because they had that Yeti model implanted in their pockets for some reason, but who did it? How did the models even get into their pockets? Who implanted on them? And so that could be a person who could be working for the Great Intelligence. So who could it be? And so that was the basic mystery about this. Who was working with the Great Intelligence? No one knows, for example. No one knows. So I really think that this has so much in-depth mystery and so many plot holes to think who could be in league with the Great Intelligence. I love these base Under Siege stories which provide so much in-depth mystery. It just becomes a magnificent story, and many people rate this so highly because of the Yeti and also the Doctor. I have to mention about the Doctor because the Doctor, he's so courageous in this story because he is so willingly to give himself up if he's tried so much, you know, effort in trying to get a Yeti to be a powerful ally. He's willingly to give himself up and sacrifice himself for everybody else, to save everybody else from the Great Intelligence, because in episode 6 he actually gave himself up and he was being used in the machine, in the pyramid machine, that the intelligence was going to drain the Doctor's mind. And so he completely felt so courageous and really confident in giving himself up and sacrificing himself, which I think that the Doctor is just a magnificent person. I think giving himself up was the right thing to do, and I believe that he was just a magnificent. Just giving yourself up for other people really just shows you that he's a much loving and very caring character, and I just love the Doctor's seriousness in this. But also in the end, I do feel quite sorry for the Doctor because not everything went his way. He was screaming at people, he was so angry and frustrated of how Jamie interfered with the final part in the final episode. Everybody helping out, trying to get the Doctor out of that machine. Patrick Troughton completely was so angry and frustrated at everyone that, could you just leave me alone? And like, he was just so frustrated that, like, I had these cross wires on this helmet thing. The intelligence wouldn't have drained me, I would have drained the intelligence. And so, yeah, and from that point, you do realise that not everything can go the Doctor's way, and you just really see how sorry he worked so hard trying to get a Yeti to be on his side, a powerful ally, and all of this work gone to nothing. And so that's what he thinks in his mind, that he's absolutely failed on defeating the Great Intelligence, but everybody else completely interfered and became so foolish to interfere. Especially Jamie was more mad at Jamie than anybody else. So yeah, I do feel quite sorry, but he did work so hard to defeat the Great Intelligence, but sadly didn't. So, I do feel quite sorry for the Doctor, but he did a magnificent job anyway though, but he did a brilliant job in this. Although he didn't appear in episode 2, that really gave the soldiers a really great focusing point. It made the soldiers more important to be in control of the whole situation, and how would Jamie and Victoria cope without the Doctor's help in episode 2, which I was quite intrigued by. I would have to say in episode 3, the reconstruction. I know people are saying that I can't watch reconstruction because you know my review of The Underwater Menace, terrible reconstruction, but this reconstruction is very well done. I would have to say that the effort levels in this are spot on, very high, because they had so many transactions, there was more moving image quality, there was zooming in on the images, there was more continuous imaging, and so it was really well done reconstruction. And I actually thought that episode 3 was really one of my favourite parts of this whole story, because this is where the whole mystery feel kicks into the whole story. Who's working with the intelligence, who pulled that lever, who opened the door to the explosive store and stuff like that. So that really creates so much in-depth mystery, but you cannot watch on who's that hand and who's doing that. So I think the reconstruction does really help with the entire story. And I just really love episode 3 cliffhangers, just where the Yeti enter the entire camp and completely takes Travis away, and just this screenshot of Travis looking so frightening when the Yeti's coming towards him. I just felt that was a brilliant cliffhanger. Just the screenshot with his face being so frightened, just amazing cliffhanger. So yeah, I really adore the Web of Fear for so much based on the Siege goodness. I really love these type of stories when you're stuck in one location and you're trying to solve a very tricky but in-depth creepy mystery. I just love all of that, and just this story just really was so fantastic. For Evans, the driver, was very cowardless. He was so selfish, and I absolutely didn't like his character at all, because he felt such of an idiot, and you just really wanted just to punch him because he felt such of a daft and idiot. And he was so idiotic, so nervous at times, like, oh, volunteer, as a dirty word, not me, I'm not doing it. And so yeah, he was very panicky but very nervous at the time, and I can understand that, but he's in the army and orders is orders, as Staff Arnold would say to him. It's like, I'll get you for this, you coward boy. So yeah, you would say that Evans is just a not unlikable character. He's just a coward, I have to say. He doesn't really play a part, but just he creates such a likely suspect that he could be working with the Great Intelligence. So all of these suspects really give people the feel that somebody could be working with the Great Intelligence and stuff like that. But anyway, I do think that everybody does have a role to play. I think Anne Travers, Professor Travers' daughter, was introduced for the first time, and I really liked Anne Travers' character, where she was coping around with all these men around, being like, Mrs. Travers, I can help you. Like, no, I can do this myself. So yeah, she was very capable of She was very capable on her own with all the men, all the soldiers around her. So she felt quite comfortable in the hands of all the soldiers, but she felt that she could do all of the things for herself, not with all of the soldiers, interfering with her work. And so she felt quite comfortable. And also I quite like Jamie's heroic action in order to save Victoria. Victoria was very good in this, I have to say, but going into the tunnel by herself and telling Charlie about the TARDIS was quite stupid of her. I just don't think if she ever mentioned the TARDIS, then none of this would have happened and Charlie would have never disappeared. So yeah, that's what I have to say. But I think everybody did a massive, fantastic job. But one of the characters which completely spooked me out was Staff Arnold. He was such one of the mysterious characters which I felt... So yeah, that really just pointed to brainstorm to me. That could he be working with the Great Intelligence? You never know. It could be anybody. So yeah, I mean, Staff Arnold was a good character, a very upright soldier and very productive soldier, character. And so yeah, I think all the soldiers were really good in this, although they do get killed off in the end, but they did play a good part in the whole story. And especially Nicholas Corner, who did a magnificent job on playing Colonel Lethbridge Stewart, and he does again appear in many other legendary Doctor Who stories, which this is where his legendary career just starts. And I have to say that the Yeti just looks so menacing. I just absolutely love the design of these Yetis, and the way that they lurk around in the London Underground. It's just so atmospheric. You could just really feel the kind of frightening and so creepy atmosphere around yourself. Just absolutely magnificent based on the Siege goodness. I have to give this a 9.8 out of 10 because it's just magnificent. I would put it at 10 out of 10, but from my last review, I would definitely rate The Enemy of the World higher than this. But overall, I think the negative characters, or Charlie and Evans, I just think that they completely lowered down the whole story. But overall, I think it's a magnificent and well-produced and directed, fantastic story. Just a completely brilliant story. And Marvin Hensley and Harry Lincoln did a fantastic job on writing The Web of Fear. I think they did a fantastic job on doing this. And also Douglas Camfield, who was the director, really gave us a really sense of great direction of the whole story, because I think he's really great on his stories, Douglas Camfield, and he can really make you feel that this is a whole based on the series story, and he really knows what he's doing. It has so much action in it, has so much in-depth mystery, which I really love, and I don't mind the reconstruction at all. I think the reconstruction is absolutely really well done, and really done with better effort rather than the Underwater Menace reconstruction. This had more effort, and it was just a fantastic story to watch, and it was just so enjoyable, really was. Anyway guys, thanks for watching for my review on the Web of Fear. Please do give a like, and also comment your views on what you think about the Web of Fear in its entirety, and also tell me in the comments down below if you've watched it. Please tell me, what do you think happened in the whole story, and also who was working with the Great Intelligence. I'm not going to give you the whole secret in this review, because otherwise that's giving the whole secret away. I want you to go and watch the DVD for yourself and find out who's working with the Great Intelligence. So guys, thanks for watching for this, and I will be doing another review on the Invasion, which will be the 4th or the 5th Cyberman story in Doctor Who, which that will be about an 8-part story, which I know it will be very long, but we'll get through it. We can do this. Anyway guys, thanks for watching for the review on the Web of Fear, and I will see you guys very soon for the review on the Invasion. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you soon.